national encounter process globally. This afternoon and evening, we will have heartfelt conversations in which we invite the Holy Spirit to sit amongst us in our journey to shape our future. And we take time to celebrate what we are already doing. We're very thankful for the availability of technical software that makes this truly cross-Canada experience possible, and for the support of the Laudato Si Movement North America team, who have generously shared their Zoom platform and technical expertise. I am Agnes Richard, the Canadian chapter animator, and I'll be your co-host this evening. Valerie Noel and Ingrid Lafort are providing live English and French interpretation. And Valerie will tell you how that works. Deep gratitude to both of you. Valerie, can you please help our viewers navigate some of the Zoom features of this meeting?
And I will come off mute for just a moment. If you're not tapped into the French, you won't be hearing her yet. So I don't speak French as well. So go down to this button, find interpretation, and select French if you'd like that. I'm sorry for my lack of French myself.
That's okay. Alternatively, you can choose English and you will hear what the French speakers are saying. The other thing we wanted you to know is that at any time you can put questions in the chat box, and we welcome what we see there. We have someone here from the Laudato Si movement as tech support, and they can also respond if you're having trouble navigating some of the things that we see here. Anna, can you hear how Valerie's doing?
No, I'm not hearing her. So just to add again, that if you also speak English, if you're bilingual, you don't have to do anything. If you also speak English, also go to this more and then select interpretation and select the English. This way, when someone speaks French, it will be interpreted into English for you, and vice versa for if you'd like French as well. Here is the place for you to mute yourself within your audio. Here's a place to put information into the chat or to read what other people are writing. And good luck with the tech. Please reach out to myself or to Maciek should you need any support with the tech.
Oh, okay.
And then Agnes, I don't know if you'd like to continue, I think.
Okay. Yes, I can continue. Okay, now I'll ask all of our participants, if you can, set your own screen view to gallery view for the next few minutes. I'll ask each person that I talk about to wave their hands so that you know who I'm introducing. Anna Johnson is the North American Senior Programs Manager for the Laudato Si movement. She is co-hosting the meeting with me. Anna, with her colleague Maciek, are taking care of our technical details as well. Thank you both. I also wish to acknowledge the team who helped organize this event. Along with Anna and I, Karen Van Loon and Kathy Murtha on the Mouvement Laudato Si Movement Canada Advisory Circle contributed many hours of planning, and you will hear from both of them in a few minutes. We're very thankful for almost 30 volunteers who will be facilitating and taking notes in our breakout rooms. There isn't time to name them all now, but please thank them when you meet them in your breakout rooms. Finally, 6 individuals are bringing us regional spotlight reports to share with you exciting news coming from all over Canada. Darlene O'Leary, Michelle Fish, Rosemary Boissonneau, Sabrina Chafferi, Lucy Leduc, and Mark Norbury will bring you this news. Now, it's my great pleasure to share with you a greeting from Bishop John Hanson from the Diocese of Mackenzie-Fort Smith in the Northwest Territories. Bishop Hanson is on the MLSM Canada Advisory Circle. Today, he is attending the annual plenary of Canadian bishops near Quebec City, so he's not able to join us in real time, but he sends this message. Greetings and blessings on behalf of the Canadian bishops as we meet for our annual plenary in the beautiful Laurentian Mountains, just outside of Quebec City. Meeting in such a magnificent environment cannot but help bring one's mind to the contemplation of the gift of creation, the very gift that Pope Francis extols in his encyclical Laudato Si. Over the past number of weeks, I have been encouraged and given signs of hope as this important message of care for our common home seems to slowly be permeating our society. Last week, a webinar was held by MLSM Canada and concerned lay Catholics, in which an Indigenous Inuit man, Ray Rubin Sr., spoke of his community's dedication to moving towards a fossil fuel-free future for his Northern Canadian community. At the Bishops' Plenary, the Canadian Organization for Development and Peace spoke to the bishops and shared how their upcoming campaign would focus on Laudato Si for all of their youth-oriented reading materials and activities. In his announcement of the Jubilee Year of Hope, which will be celebrated next year in 2025, Pope Francis made a very strong connection between hope and our care for the environment, especially when he says explicitly that debt forgiveness by affluent countries is not just about generosity, but it is about justice, and that debt is not just financial, but also ecological. That, and he quotes Pope Francis, that a true ecological debt exists, particularly between the global north and south, connected to commercial imbalances with effects on the environment and the disproportionate use of natural resources by certain countries over long periods of time. And that was quoted from the Bull of Indiction number 16. Of course, Bishop Hansen says, historic imbalances take time to remedy, but these are all signs of hope that we are moving in the right direction, along with your meeting taking place today. I offer my encouragement to you and pray that you will encourage and inspire one another. May the Holy Spirit be present as you work together, and may God bless you all. And now I would like to introduce Dr. Susanna Refega, the Executive Director of the International Laudato Si Movement. She sends her greetings as well. Dr. Refega brings a wealth of leadership experience from her remarkable career in Catholic international development sectors and civil society. Susanna's involvement in various leadership roles includes serving on the board of SIDSI and holding the position of president for the Portuguese National NGO platform for 3 years. In academia, she concentrated on the intersection of social activism and civil society. Her journey into environmental stewardship commenced with a PhD in biology, guiding her into the development sector and fostering a profound comprehension of the interplay between environment and poverty. Anna, can you play Dr. Susanna Refugia's video?
Dear friends, many, many greetings to you, to Laudato Si movement in Canada. We are so glad to know that you are having your national encounter. And indeed, in many countries around the world, these gatherings are currently being held. And we are excited and with a lot of expectation to listen and to hear how the Spirit is blowing across the movement. This important and powerful work of listening to the Holy Spirit through your national encounter is a gift to the global movement. Your wisdom, insights, and creativity, based in your Canadian realities and the hard work you are doing in caring for our common home and seeking climate and ecological justice, are precious gifts. And having your Canadian voice as part of the reflections of the movement is essential. Last Friday, I had the opportunity to be at the Vatican at the meeting of Pope Francis with popular movements. This was a very inspiring and moving moment for me, where I had all our animators across the world very present. And Pope Francis addressed to us not only a renewed call for action, but also a deep message anchored on love and hope. And as Pope Francis mentioned, and I would like to leave this for reflection with you, social justice and integral ecology can only be understood through love. And despite knowing that we are at a point of urgency in the ecological crisis, Pope Francis also reminds us that hope is the weakest virtue, but never disappoints. I send you my prayers for your time in this deep, spirit-led reflection. Laudato Si.
That was lovely. Thank you very much, Susanna. And now I would like to call on Karen Van Loon to deliver a traditional land acknowledgement.
As we begin our gathering, we send our deep gratitude to the diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples from coast to coast to coast, upon whose traditional lands we stand and work. We seek to live in respect, peace, and right relations with Indigenous peoples who have a long and intimate relationship with Mother Earth and are well aware of the significance of our impact on the generations to come. We are most grateful for their wisdom and knowledge at this critical time in Earth's history. Take a moment to silently recall the names of the Indigenous peoples of the place you call home.
Fantastic. And now, Kathy Murtha will help us set the tone for our gathering with an opening prayer.
Our opening prayer reflection is inspired and adapted from Reverend James Bogwin's Prayers for the Season of Creation and Christina Walter Painter. God of the land, the sea, and the sky, open our hearts to the rhythm of creation, in the swells of the ocean, the movements of air, wind, and the breath of all living things. Take a moment now to get in touch with your breath. Become conscious of the rise and fall of your belly as you fill your entire being with the air that we all share. You are a child of the universe, and you proclaim your intimate connection, your larger belonging, with every breath you take. The great mystic, Jesuit theologian, Teilhard de Chardin, offered a poignant and powerful vision of the breathing together of all things. We are connected to all that exists through the sacred gift of breath. So take a deep breath and imagine as you breathe in and out that the sound of your breath is echoed in the breath of the people you love. Allow your imagination to slowly widen, to connect you with all people. Expand it to include all creatures. And finally, enlarge the circle of your vision to include the plants and the trees that so graciously enter into a mutual exchange of breath with us. They breathe in what we breathe out, and we breathe out what they breathe in, and the dance goes on. I invite you to take another deep breath in and slowly out, and pause to consider that that very breath you just took may have come from the trees in the Amazon forest a mere 4 hours ago, their gift to the world. Imagine the trees are supporting your every breath. Dear God of all life, may this prayer reflection bring us home to our true belonging to your magnificent creation. And now we're being told that the atoms we breathe are physically the same as the stardust from the Big Bang, 13.9 billion years ago. Take a moment to breathe all that in.
Agnes, it looks like you're on mute.
Thank you very much for sharing that, Kathy. It was beautiful, and it's perfect for setting us in a mood for this event. Now, I'll just take a quick minute and give you all a summary of how our time will be divided this evening. Anna and I will begin by providing some Canadian and global context for our national gathering. And then Anna will explain the national encounter process. Kathy will help us once more to center our thoughts just before we go into breakout rooms. And once we are there, we'll have 52 minutes to discuss 2 compound questions that we'll put to you. This will take us to about 7:30. Following the breakout rooms, we'll have a 15-minute break. After that, each breakout room will have one person give a very brief report on how their conversations went and what rose to the top in their discussions. I will then call on regional spotlight reporters to give us a brief summary of exciting things happening in their part of Canada. Before we finish up, we'll take a set of group pictures. Always nice to have pictures to remember our event by. Anna and I will share some current campaigns we would like you to engage with. And I'll wrap up by sharing some celebratory news just before we close for the evening. So here we go. Anna, if you'd like to cue up the first slide that I have. Okay. Some of you may be joining us for the first time, and some have taken part in many webinars with our Canadian chapter. Here's a quick synopsis of who we are and what we do. Mouvement, Laudato Si Movement Canada began in 2019. And with this national gathering, we're celebrating our 5th anniversary. We exist because of a memorandum of understanding between the Global Secretariat of the Laudato Si Movement and Faith in the Common Good, a national faith-based charitable organization devoted to helping spiritual communities realize their aspirations to live more sustainably, reduce negative impacts on the natural world, and to educate and broaden community knowledge where they live and work. We follow the same pillars of engagement as the global Laudato Si movement, and that is encouraging an internal transformation through deepening the spiritual dimensions of our lives, leading by example by changing our lifestyles, and committing to transformation of our society through public policy discussions and engagement. And in Canada, that teal-colored oval in the center, we've added one more pillar, that of intentional efforts of reconciliation and relationship building with Indigenous peoples. And next slide, please. In 2022, we released the Catholic Eco-Investment Accelerator Toolkit. With funding assistance from the Catherine Donnelly Foundation, we prepared a very useful resource to help organizations, schools, faith communities, and others discern how their investments align with ecological concerns. And then we have suggestions to assess if changes need to be made, and there are suggested avenues to implement change if that is required. Sharing the news of this toolkit and helping folks use it continues to be a significant centerpiece for MLSM Canada's work. Next slide. MLSM Canada also strives to support Laudato Si animators across the country, telling their stories, celebrating their achievements, and assisting with training of new animators. Our Laudato Si Dialogues newsletter is a major source of shared news, stories, and engagement opportunities for those who subscribe. Many dedicated Laudato Si animators are bringing knowledge of Pope Francis's encyclical on care of our common home, Laudato Si, and the ecumenical season of creation to life in their parishes and communities. Laudato Si circles, creation-centered prayer services, book readings, creation care ministry teams, liturgical support, educational and social engagement activities abound. You are the strength of our movement. Faith in the Common Good was founded on the belief that diverse religious and spiritual communities can be powerful role models for the common good. We work with local community partners across Canada to host a wide variety of practical, educational, and spiritual programs that encourage, among other things, faith-building energy efficiency, faith sector support for clean energy and active transportation, interfaith climate justice, and clean water alliances, and much, much more. Faith in the Common Good has recently updated their Sacred Teachings poster, now known as Sacred Green Teachings. These were chosen to demonstrate that each religion and spiritual philosophy has a long-standing tradition of ecological stewardship. It's an easily digestible visual tool to grow support for green or ecological perspectives. And now, over to Anna to talk about the global Laudato Si movement.
Thank you so much, Agnes. And it's really, truly wonderful to be with you all this evening. What a gift to have so many passionate people organizing together around caring for our common home. So again, my name is Anna Johnson. I'm with the Global Laudato Si movement, but serving North America. And our global team has a WhatsApp group, a group on WhatsApp, the app, where we share pictures both of the events we are at, as well as what's happening in our regions to the earth. With increasing frequency, we're getting pictures like these. The massive flooding in the Philippines. One of my colleagues' parishes, his churches, had this happen with the flooding, as well as the flooding that happened in Kenya. The heat waves of 37 degrees Celsius happening in the middle of Brazil's winter, a time that we should not be getting those kind of temperatures. Pictures of extreme wildfires that are happening across North America. The crisis is more urgent now than ever. The carbon countdown clock shares how little time we have left to facilitate a just transition away from fossil fuels. Less than 5 years remain for our carbon budget to remain within only 1.5 degrees of warming. We're seeing the impacts already around the world on a massive scale of having months already over that threshold. These disasters are getting out of control. And I know I don't need to say this to Canadians who are experiencing and living through this as well. But the good news is I'm also getting pictures like these from around the world, right? We're seeing a training in Timor-Leste where hundreds of youth are getting trained in the Laudato Si Animators program. We're seeing dialogues like this in the Philippines around the Fossil Fuel Non-Proliferation Treaty with one of the bishops, the Philippine Climate Change Commission, and the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, pulling together church and government to talk about the morality of responding to this time. We're seeing this Laudato Si Circle caravan moving through rural France, and this Laudato Si Circle in Ecuador, praying, cleaning, and planting trees together in the midst of their crises. These are pictures from Susanna spoke about how she was at this world meeting of movements with Pope Francis. And so this first picture is a picture she took herself. And here's one of her speaking to Pope Francis as well, talking about how important this is and the amazing and inspiring work of our members, our animators, and our circles around the world. We're seeing pictures like this from our colleagues in East Africa, where many of our colleagues and our friends and animators and leaders in Uganda are experiencing what happens with the ecological destruction when Total, one of the gas companies, is drilling in their area for the East Africa crude oil pipeline. So they're protesting in front of their gas stations, which is quite a dangerous thing to do. But then we get pictures back because we're connected on this global scale of being Catholics together in this work. We're getting pictures back from our one of our priest leaders in New York, who's showing up to New York protests with a Stop ECOP, Stop the East Africa Crude Oil Pipeline picture. And we're getting pictures from the Vatican, where they're also holding up signs about Stop ECOP. The crisis is real, it's here, it's now, it's devastating. And the response we have is this hope that we hold through the lens of our faith and through our sense of global solidarity of being sisters and brothers connected around the world. These are the possibilities that we have. This is the potential. This is the group of people that are gathered here today. So thank you for being this voice in Canada. In Laudato Si, 9 years ago, Pope Francis wrote, "We must continue to be aware that, regarding climate change, there are differentiated responsibilities. Greater attention must be given to the needs of the poor, the weak, and the vulnerable. in a debate often dominated by more powerful interests. We need to strengthen the conviction that we are one single human family. There are no frontiers or barriers, political or social, behind which we can hide. Still less is there room for the globalization of indifference. The Mouvement Laudato Si movement of Canada held this incredibly powerful event last year that spoke exactly to how we can mobilize in this differentiated responsibility way. As we look at what is the responsibility of the global north and specifically of Canada in this place, what is the impact Canada is having around the world and on the ecological crisis. The then Canadian ambassador to the Vatican, Paul Gibbard, helped us arrange a conversation with Catherine Stewart, right in the middle here, Canada's ambassador for climate change. She met with passionate young members of our movement around the world, including multiple Indigenous members. In this dialogue, Ina Maria, pictured here, our animator from the Kavango Basin in Namibia, shared about how she is organizing and working with others to attempt to stop Recon Africa, a Canadian oil company, from drilling in her area, essential for biodiversity, not to mention the health of thousands of people who rely upon clean water filtering through the basin. Lucy, up here, an Indigenous land protector in Ecuador, shared about how she is seeing her friends and colleagues threatened and the land surrounding her home being destroyed by companies drilling for minerals that go into our renewable batteries, including Canadian companies. Again, the reach of Canada goes far beyond the borders of the amazing country that is Canada in both positive and potentially detrimental ways. It's why things such as the amazing work of you all here and the Laudato Si movement in Canada is so important. The amazing work of, for instance, the Laudato Si Circle in Port Moody is so amazing. Thinking of this differentiated responsibilities. You'll hear more about their work in a little bit later in this call. This is why the work we're doing in Canada is so essential. You are each balancing the Catholic social teaching tenets of global solidarity with subsidiarity. Every action you take, every time you push back against fossil fuel companies or overconsumption, against extractivism and endless growth economic models, is building a more healthy planet for all, for Ina Maria and Lucy, for yourselves, children, and future grandchildren. So thank you so much for being here today and continuing to dive into this conversation and helping us dream forward this better future together. So now, for the next bit of time in this gathering, we invite you to take a few moments to step back of this urgency of the day-to-day work, to check in with the Holy Spirit. We know that the Holy Spirit is our advocate, our protector, who has our best interest in mind, and God speaks through human instruments, like each one of us on the call tonight. When we feel overwhelmed by the immensity of the problem, when we feel at a loss, perhaps because of our concerns that our work may be too small or too disjointed because we don't know where to go next, or perhaps even too angry with holy rage because of systemic challenges within the church or our political system, barring substantive action, we know someone who's incredibly familiar with working against institutional barriers and trying to change culture in a massive way: Jesus. And he sent us the Holy Spirit to be our guide and advocate. But it's not always easy to hear the movement of the Spirit. It's a still, quiet voice. And so we must slow ourselves down in order to adequately hear what is being said to us, to hear where we are supposed to move, to understand what our next step should be in healing our common home. This might mean leaving behind old ways of doing things. It might mean adopting new ways. It might mean deepening into certain ways that are yielding fruit or which strategically hold the balance of pushing against power from the depths and strength of faith. As Pope Francis wrote in Laudate Deum, his update to Laudato Si that he published nearly a year ago now, he wrote, 8 years have passed since I published the encyclical letter Laudato Si, when I wanted to share with all of you, my brothers and sisters of our suffering planet, my heartfelt concern about care of our common home. Yet, with the passage of time, I have realized that our responses have not been adequate, while the world in which we live is collapsing and maybe nearing the breaking point. a lot of amazing work is happening. And perhaps it is also time to stop and listen to hear, are we doing the right work for what we need to be doing to save our common home? While this ecological urge is new, this call to listen to the Spirit to guide our next step is not. Of course, it goes all the way back to Jesus. But in 1833, Blessed John Henry Newman, amazing theologian and saint, wrote this poem, perhaps helps us understand better this call to our next bit of time. He wrote, "Lead, kindly light, amid the encircling gloom. Lead thou me on. The night is dark, and I am far from home. Lead thou me on. Keep thou my feet. I do not ask to see the distant scene. One step, enough for me. I was not ever thus, nor prayed that thou should lead me on. I loved to choose and see my path, but now, lead thou me on." So we ask now for the Spirit to come and infuse our conversations as we think about what this can mean for us. And so as we think about this, we invite you to take a few moments to root ourselves in Laudato Si Movement's values. All of the encounters that are happening around the world from people similar to you who are driven to care for our common home are starting with these values, knowing that we have this shared connection of where we start from as we sit to listen to where we're called to go next. So Agnes and I will read these values to you all, and we invite you to listen to them in a prayerful way, listening for what speaks to you and inspires you. Oh, Agnes, you're on mute.
Yeah, would you like me to go first?
Yes.
Okay. So one of the grounding values of the Laudato Si movement is this, that we are grounded in faith and hope. Our Catholic faith impels us to act. Laudato Si inspires our mission. As followers of Jesus Christ, our attitudes and actions are guided by the scriptures and Catholic social teaching. We serve the Church by lifting up the integrity of creation and recognizing the value of caring for God's creation in our Christian lives. We live in gospel hope, for we know that things can change, and injustice is not invincible. We rejoice in this ministry as an expression of God's love in our life and for all creation. We entrust our efforts to the Holy Spirit and Mary, Queen of Creation.
Our next value is that we are committed to ecological conversion. We commit to ecological conversion, the ongoing transformation of our hearts toward greater love with our Creator and creation. We take time to listen to God's message in creation with awe and wonder, and compassionately respond to creation's cry. We reflect on our words and actions, humbly acknowledge where we are falling short, and practice new ways of living simply and in solidarity with creation. We embrace contemplation and action, practicing a slow-paced ecological spirituality of reflection and prayer, while also urging ambitious action to match the scale of the ecological and climate crises.
The third value of the Laudato Si movement is caring for one another. We are called to love one another as Christ has loved us. Therefore, we cultivate a culture of care for one another, ourselves, and all living beings that share our common home, especially the most vulnerable. Including future generations, we honor each other's gifts and limitations. We celebrate our relationships. We tangibly show love for one another when we act in ways that promote the common good. As such, caring for each other embodies a synodal process whereby we journey together in communion with the universal Church as people of God on a journey of ecological conversion and care for our common home.
The fourth value is embracing an integral and prophetic approach. Everything is connected. As we seek to heed to the cry of the earth and the cry of the poor, we embrace a worldview of integral ecology, which understands ecological, cultural, social, political, and economic issues as intertwined. We commit to the protection of all human life from womb to tomb, and in solidarity with communities that carry an unjust burden of the ecological crisis. We also embrace all species as signs of God's love and members of the flourishing family of creation. We understand that ambitious action for ecological and climate justice is part of living out the priestly, prophetical, and kingly functions of Christ, so as to continue Christ's ministry in the world in which we see God reflected in all that exists. Our prophetic action encourages us to challenge structures of sin and call for radical change while being open to dialogue. Our work is always nonviolent and nonpartisan.
And the fifth value is cultivating unity in diversity. We are nourished by the rich diversity of creation and in the church, striving for unity in caring for our common home, while honoring the unique gifts of each individual or organization and what they bring. We live a spirituality of global solidarity, which unites us for globally coordinated action that is adapted to local contexts and expertise. We open space for collaboration between organizations and individuals across borders and regions. We are both in the church and in the world. We serve alongside the whole Catholic family while building bridges with other Christian, other faith communities, and social and environmental movements as a single human family, acknowledging that the love for creation calls us together into universal communion.
So with that, we invite you to take a moment and reflect on how these values integrate into your heart, and if perhaps a word or phrase sticks out to you. And we invite you to put that into the chat if it does. These encounters are happening all around the world as we speak. The notes from your conversations here today will be submitted as a report to the global movement. There will be a global encounter in June, and there we will reflect on the state of the movement of Catholics caring for our common home, of people of faith and goodwill caring for our common home. It is so important that Canada is well represented there. So thank you again for your time and intentionality in sharing.
And we see lots of ideas pouring into the chat box. Thank you very much.
Love this. It's wonderful to hear and to see what resonates particularly.
Mm-hmm. Complex harmony. That's lovely.
What will happen next is everyone will be broken out into breakout rooms based on your region and language. As you move into these breakout rooms, we ask that you hold these moments, this time together, as a time of deep intentionality and listening to the Spirit, both in each other as well as in the words that are pulled forth from you. We would invite you to share these commitments and these shared agreements as we sit in this space of sacred conversation. For the first, we invite you to be mindful of your sharing. This is not a time to vent, complain, or attack. It is instead a time to listen to the creativity and abundance of the Spirit and the opportunities in front of us. We invite you to be mindful of listening. This is not a time to problem solve, to respond to particularities of what someone shared, to pick apart anything, or to respond to specific issues. Rather, this is a time to listen with an ear towards the Holy Spirit, to try and listen for what the Holy Spirit might be calling forth from your sharing. It's a time for deep listening to each other and the Spirit, this bigger picture of our work together. And it is more about presence, not about particularities or problem solving. It's also not a working or planning time necessarily. If ideas or concrete ideas do come forward for you, that's wonderful. However, note if you feel the urge to jump up immediately into detailing those plans and perhaps step back from that urge as best as you can. So perhaps it might help to have a pen and paper so you can jot it down quickly and return to the conversation with fullness. We invite you to have, and the facilitators, each room will have a facilitator and a note taker. Each person can have 3 minutes to share on the current reality and the future vision. And there will be a facilitator and note taker in each room. And we ask that everyone share once before another person shares again. This is a lot of text. I recognize that. Agnes, if you would be willing to share the questions that people will be discussing, I will put them into the chat as well. And your facilitators also have them.
Okay, this is something that I wasn't prepared for. Let me just take a minute and pull them up. It's something that I don't have in front of me.
I'm happy to read them then.
Okay,
Agnes.
then go
Sorry about
ahead.
that.
Sorry.
No problem. Let me just put this into the chat really quickly, and I'll drop the French into the chat in just a moment here. Okay, here's the English and French. Okay. So for the first round of sharing, you will reflect on, can you share one specific instance where you and your community felt you were answering the call to care for creation? And to reflect on how you can more fully embody Laudato Si Movement's mission in your life and community in the future. And the second round of sharing will be reflecting on how can we as a chapter better achieve Laudato Si Movement's mission in the next 3 years, in the next 10 years. How can Laudato Si Movement help us achieve our dreams? What changes do you hope to see in the Laudato Si Movement to assist you with your care for creation goals? And I will put that mission in the chat as well so that you can see it.
Okay. We have people pretty much divided into chat rooms already. We're all set to go. If you find that you are lost and not in a room, just hold on for a minute or two. Our assistant Matt Check will make sure that you find a space. Now, I would like to give Kathy the opportunity to center us once more before we go out into our breakout rooms, and we will have until 7:30 to chat with each other. Kathy, please go ahead.
Sorry, Kathy.
Don't forget to unmute, Kathy.
There, good idea. Sound of the bell. Allow the sound of the bell to center you and bring you into this present sacred moment where the divine resides.
I think we have technical difficulties about the sound, so do our best to
Bell ain't
imagine
going.
a
Just
beautiful
imagine
tone.
there's a bell sound. And we pause and take a deep, full breath in to gather ourselves. And one long, full breath out. Your breath is a means to slow you down and remind you of your true belonging to each other and all of life. Loving Creator, may we work in hope with you and all creation to be part of the healing of this precious world.
Okay. We're all set to go then, Kathy? Perfect. All right. So, Magic, if you would like to divide us up, we're all set to go with the facilitators that have questions that are ready to go for us. Thank you.
Anna, if you could just help me with the unassigned participants that weren't in the list.
Sure. And I'm going to move, there we go, to room 7. So I think here we've got, if you are still in the room, if you can share your, which room you'd like to go into. I'll put those rooms into the chat here in just a moment. Oops. Okay, Tara would like to go in the Francophone group.
Thanks.
Thank you, Tara.
Oui, bonjour.
And Paul as well into the Francophone group. I believe that's 11.
Thank you. Moving Paul to room 11.
And room 9 is also a Francophone group. Tara can
Uh,
move into room 9.
Tara, you're already in a room. You just need to click accept.
Is there
Uh,
is it divided as like is there a Quebec group?
Non, moi, j'ai une invitation à joindre le groupe 11. Est-ce que je devrais dire oui? Yeah.
I'm sorry, who's speaking now? Oh, gotcha. Yes, 11 is the correct room.
I'm supposed to be a note taker for one of the Francophone groups, but I was accidentally put in 10, so.
Ah, okay, that's 9 or 11.
S'il vous plaît, comment faire pour aller au groupe en français? I speak just French, please.
C'est les salles 9 et 11 pour le francophone, donc à
Mais
joindre
comment faire?
9 ou 11.
Je, je, je clique sur participer, c'est ça?
Ouais.
Wait.
I will move you, Sabrina.
Okay.
There you go. You should have a new invitation.
I haven't had an invitation yet.
Oh, Tara, you have not. Okay. Did that give you an invitation?
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Hi,
How about
Anna.
you? Hi, Noreen.
Listen, I'm supposed to be with Joe Gunn. I was in the wrong group.
Ah, okay.
And also Agnes said group 10 is all facilitators, so they need groups as well.
Okay, I'm gonna move you into Joe's.
Oh, okay, thank you.
That's group 1. Anna.
Great.
I was put in a French group and I'm English.
My apologies for that.
No
Let's fix that right
problem.
now. Shall we?
There we go. I moved her.
Thank
All right.
Thank you.
Others.
Noreen, you should have received an invite already, so you can join your group.
Oh, sorry, you know what? I need it. Hang on a sec. No, because sorry, could you resend it? Because it came up on my iPad. I need it on my laptop. Sorry about that.
No worries. That's group 1. Here you go.
Thank you. Perfect. Thank you.
Hello, Magic. Do you have others that are looking for a place to go?
Yes, we have 4. Albert Laurier, Lise, Gregory, Lucy Leduc and Norm Leo. Those
Okay.
are the three. The
Lucy
unassigned.
Leduc can join a room with people from the prairies.
Thanks. I just joined, so
Yep. Nice to see you, Lucy.
thanks. I'm grateful.
Prairies, that'll be group 8. Here we go.
Lise Gregoire can join a group from Quebec or Francophone speaking.
All
And if
set.
you'd like to put your group into the chat, we can move from there as well, if you are understanding what I'm saying. Jean-Pierre, did you see your invitation?
Anna, my problem is that we cannot record in breakout rooms because we don't have the host capability. So could you enable recording in the breakout rooms for us? That's why I came back to the main room.
I'm so sorry about that.
So that then we could record. That would make our job easier as secretaries.
That sure
Thanks.
would. Manchek, can you make Jean-Pierre a co-host?
All set.
Thank you. Hopefully that
Perfect.
will work, Jean-Pierre. Let us know if not.
So I'll go back to my room.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Machek, I have a request to move a few more people into room 10. That room was full of facilitators and we need people to participate.
Of course. Who can I move?
I don't know where people are right now. Let's see.
I'm going to move some of them into different rooms.
Okay.
If they're all, it just won't necessarily go by region.
Oh, okay.
I have a question, please. I'm looking for the room with Sandra Côté, if this is possible.
Sandra Coupé?
Yeah.
That's room 2. I'm moving you now.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Normand, would you like to be in a French or an English room?
Oh, the French know me buckets. I prefer to go with the Anglophones.
Oh, okay. Can you go to room 10 then, maybe?
Sure.
All set. Assigned. We just have one Albert left unassigned.
Albert, do you prefer French or English? Sorry, Laurier.
Français.
Français, thank you.
All right, so 9 or 11, then we'll check. And Sabrina, I see you're back.
Number 11. There we go.
Sabrina was to be taking notes with Michel Fish. So whatever room Michel Fish is in, Sabrina should be with him.
There we go, because I was in with Sister Danielle and she was saying somebody else was going to be taking notes for her, so.
Yeah, she's with
That's room 11.
Okay.
Let me just find you, Sabrina. I'll move you right now.
Okay.
So you'll be in room 11. There you go.
Okay.
Okay. And now I can go back to 10. It looks like we've got everybody sorted. Hi, everybody. Did you have great conversations? Just show me your hands and let me know how things went. Fantastic. Great. I'm glad to hear it. So now we're going to let our note takers and facilitators compose their thoughts. We're going to take a 15-minute bio break and come back here at 1/4 the hour, depending on where you are. So for me, 7:45 for some of the others, 6:45, 7:45. And when we come back, we're going to hear really quick synopses from what happened in each of the breakout rooms. And after that, we'll have some spotlight activity. Okay, so let's just take a break. We'll get something to drink, and I'll see you back in 15 minutes. Thank you. Contributions in the breakout rooms will be anonymously reported back through our note takers to me, and then I will combine them into a national encounter report and send it to the Laudato Si Movement Secretariat as they prepare for celebrations in 2025. I'd like to thank everyone for walking on this journey with us. And now it's time to hear what happened in each of the rooms. I'll call out the breakout rooms by number because we shuffled them around a little bit. So from what I understand, Joe Gunn is going to give us a synopsis of what happened in room 1.
Thank you, Agnes. So the first group had Harrison from Kitchener, Bonnie from Sault Ste. Marie, who's in Florida actually right now, worried about a hurricane, Noreen in Chatham, Normand in Saint-Jean-Longueuil, and myself in Ottawa. There are 4 points. The conversation, we shared very good programs and projects that people took forward, but the 4 points that I want to make in this very short report, we actually ended up talking a lot about the lack of support from bishops for this work and leadership from Catholic bishops for this work. And so looking at how we might have leverage with them. Agnes, I hope you talk about the plan to have all of the animators and participants write letters to their bishop about divestment. Others raised the question of the synod and how little ecological justice was raised in the synod of October last year. The next session is starting next month. I'm actually on a study group that's been appointed by Rome to look at the cry of the earth and the cry of the poor. And Sister Maria Simmerman, whom I'm sure Anna knows because Anna knows everybody in the United States, is their rep on that. There was a concrete suggestion that really the Laudato Si movement could provide tools for the season of creation, much as we do the Week of Prayer for Christian Unity, where a different country is in charge of that every year. And it would be interesting to share insights from around the world. And finally, someone thought that it would be particularly important in Canada for us to link the work of Indigenous justice through the Indigenous justice to our ecological justice work through the Laudato Si movement. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Well, those are some really good concrete suggestions, and then we'll take them forward. Someone reporting from group 2, please.
We are the number 2. Do I do it in French or?
I'm sorry, I forgot to remind everyone that now that you've come back from breakout rooms, you have to select your interpretation again. So let's just take a minute to do that, and then you can report in French.
Okay. It's okay?
Yep, go ahead.
Donc, en réponse à cet appel de prendre soin de la création, ce qui a fait surtout partager, c'est des initiatives, mais aussi des nouvelles pousses, non seulement dans le milieu de l'Église, mais au-delà, notamment dans la société civile. Alors, au sein de l'Église, il y a des groupes de sensibilisation, des stratégies paroissiales, en lien même avec les économes, mais il y a aussi des nouvelles pousses, comme le Centre de spiritualité au Québec, qui veut ouvrir un nouveau volet, jeunes et maisons communes ensemble. Les Mères au front, par exemple, avec leur action, avec l'Ensemble pour la suite du monde. Et l'avenir, c'est de donner suite à ces initiatives et de créer du neuf, hein, comme des groupes de lecture, différentes initiatives. Ça, c'est ce qui est pour les premières questions. Deuxième question, ce qui est à retenir, bon, à nouveau, les évêques, oui, on sent qu'il y a ça serait bon si le mouvement pouvait faciliter une plus grande implication des évêques qui soient plus engagés, plus audibles, ce qui se vit plus dans d'autres églises ailleurs. C'est l'aspect du réseautage qui a été beaucoup pointé. Le réseautage qui pourrait être facilité par le partage des coordonnées, par secteur ou par coordonnées des personnes même, des personnes qui sont engagées. Et surtout parce qu'on est dans un mouvement d'élan et ça motive beaucoup l'ensemble des gens qui font partie du mouvement. Et puis, ça a été aussi beaucoup souligné l'aspect de l'ancrage spirituel du mouvement Laudato Si. C'est là qu'on vient puiser notre motivation pour créer, pour avancer dans nos initiatives ou nos actions. Et enfin, les outils, là aussi, pour les outils, des recommandations pour que ça soit moins volumineux et donner ou délivrer en avance pour qu'on puisse les utiliser. Voilà, grosso modo, peut-être Mireille voudrait rajouter quelque chose, je ne la vois pas sur mon écran. Voilà, plus ou moins les points. J'espère que j'ai pas été trop vite pour la traductrice.
No, you were fine. But I do want to actually move on to someone to report from group 3. Do we have someone who is going to give us a synopsis from group 3?
That was the room with Anna
Donna.
Dorner.
It's
Donna.
me. I
There
had
she
my,
goes.
I had myself on mute. I'm sorry, Agnes. We had a lot of discussion, so we have, we did have it recorded, but, we had a lot to say. And so the first thing I want to say is that,
Can you hear her?
can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Can everybody hear me? Okay. Considering the Pope's words, an attitude of the heart, keeping an attitude of the heart and hearing the cry of the earth and the cry of the poor, we looked at the questions under those parameters. So we had a student, a university student in our discussions, and she was a representative or part of a global youth delegation to COP27. And her benefits that she found, well, the benefits she found the most useful are the networking. The connections she made were invaluable, and the diversity component irreplaceable in terms of enhancing cultural experiences and the knowledge base of other countries, and learning about the cry of the poor on and of the earth impactfully in a diverse way, which is really kind of key to the youth, so that they are understanding where everyone's coming from. It's not just pertinent
Can
to our
anybody hear this?
area.
Mhm,
I don't know what, you can't hear me?
mhm.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Who can't, maybe you're not, are you tuned in? Is anyone?
It
When you
might
clicked
be
interpretation, you might have clicked mute original audio. So if you go back to the interpretation and unclick that, you'll probably.
Yeah, oh, it's
thanks, it's just
original.
like this.
And okay,
It's-
so I should just unclick that. What else? Well, what do you want me to put in its place?
Not you, Donna, you just keep talking.
Yeah.
Pardon?
I'm good, thanks.
Is everything okay now?
Yep.
Yes, I think it is.
Okay, all right. Well, I got a message from someone saying they can't hear me. So anyway, the student diversity experience was fabulous for the university student we had in our session. They're also still in touch, which is really important. The students around the globe are really in touch because of COP27, and I found that really hopeful and inspiring, and I think we all did in our group. Another suggestion in terms of the first question is forming interfaith groups are key in your community, because there is energy and pride in sharing our Pope's words with all. We have the guy who has written these encyclicals, who makes us proud around the world, and why not share them with interfaith groups and move people into a circle where we can all work together? I thought that was an amazing suggestion, and I love that part. And added to that is reconciliation with our own Indigenous people, because they are the keepers of the land, and they can lead us if we form relationships through respectful listening. That's what they're asking us to do, listen to the words. So we have to keep that in mind. These are very cryptic notes. So we did talk a little bit about the handbook that we use at the Hamilton Diocese when we teach the Indigenous course online. It's from Novalis, and it is Listening to Indigenous Voices, written by the Jesuits in conjunction with Indigenous people. It's in Hamilton Diocese. It's used by all groups. It's used by parishes and schools, and it's a teaching tool. It's a wonderful handbook. And the 4-week course at the Indigenous issues at the diocese. I'm the chief facilitator there. Sarah Guente is the lead, and she was in our session as well. So that's a real bonus in our diocese that we have that.
Thank you, Donna. I'm going to have to move us along to the next group. But thank you so
Oh
much
my
for that
goodness.
report. And it
Okay.
will, everything
I
you
just
talked
say-
about will be captured. Yeah.
May I just say one more thing about the Catholic Climate Covenant in the
Mhm.
US, doing great work. Sarah mentioned that. We have a pathway to them and through our CCCB and through our own diocese. And Sarah did put the website on the chat.
In the chat. Thank you so much. Great.
Okay.
Again, all the richness. Can someone who was in group 4 give me a synopsis of what happened in your group?
That would be me. Eventually, I ended up in group 4. Just for question A, there was a bit of a theme where several people talked about initiatives of making pollinator or indigenous healing gardens on church grounds and then spreading out in the community to do that. Somebody else talked about how they were making parishioners aware of the climate marches happening in their community and encouraging them to attend and parishioners to attend. There was also a theme about promoting and respecting Indigenous ways of being and knowing that was happening in the various communities that people were talking about, and also offering university students and young people opportunities to spend time in nature and to have a sense of eco-spirituality and to guide them through reconnecting with nature and working on questions of climate anxiety. So was what we talked about for question 1. Question 2, what we would love to see was more of this sort of listening opportunities to work sort of synodal process of listening to the various voices from across the country. And then sort of finding ways to network, especially if people are working on similar projects in the same community, like these pollinator gardens. It would be good to get a network of people who are doing that and learn from each other. And yeah, we would really like to see how we as lay people can work to inspire the clergy in our various parishes and beyond, up to the diocesan level, the bishops to come more on board with the Laudato Si, the movement, and have opportunities maybe to read Laudato Si together at a parish level, or yeah. And so we were hoping there could be some way that the movement could teach us how to get the church hierarchy, for lack of a better word, on board.
Thank you, Rosemary. Were you mostly Ontario in that group?
Yes, mostly Ontario and 1 PEI.
Yeah, people got mixed up a little bit, but that's great. Thank you. So now I'm going to call on someone from Breakout Room 5.
That would be me. Oh,
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thanks, Agnes. Our answers for the first question, many of us have started gardens, which is lovely, and working with schools to create communities to engage students and staff, to think, more about the impacts of their ecological footprint and to be conscientious of how we care for creation. Our second answer was focused more around helping to, let me go to my notes here quick, sorry, to offer more. We would like to see more bridge building. There's a lot of different organizations, Catholic, Christian, and interfaith organizations that are working towards these same goals, and that we all seem to be kind of siloed. And so if there was a way to kind of gather some of the leadership and have those kinds of strategic conversations, that would be great. We listed a whole bunch of organizations that we could talk to, both in the Catholic Church and outside of the Catholic Church. We're all on team, Save the Earth, or team Jesus, or however you want to put it. And there's a lot of great work going on there. We also talked about that if we look at the pro-life movement, which has been and continues to be very strong in the Catholic Church and in other churches as well, that care for creation is essentially a pro-life conversation. And so if there was a way to expand the language or to make it more palatable to other groups and to have that dialogue, that there's a lot of momentum and energy there, that could be some really great synergy that could happen there, so that we recognize that this isn't necessarily the evangelizing work that we're doing, but that it is people of faith and goodwill coming together to do this. So there are some good pieces that other organizations have with advocacy, with doing campaigning, speaking to government at a local level, with church hierarchy, and that if we come together, we can support each other in this and reach a larger population and hopefully have more momentum moving forward. So thank you.
Thanks, Tasha. And that group was predominantly prairies, but there was one or two people from other places as well. So now I'm calling on breakout room number 6.
Agnes, I'm not sure if we were 6, but we're from the Atlantic and Ontario.
Perfect. Go ahead. I would need
Okay.
to hear from Atlantic.
Oh,
Yep.
We were 6, and Bobby was our recorder.
Okay, so what could we do then? Karen, can I put you on hold for just a moment and let Derek step in here from BC?
Okay, I can do that, but Bobby was a note taker. Bobby, are you there?
7. Sorry, Derek, I thought we were 7, that was all.
We are 6.
Derek, you can go ahead. Oh. Yeah, go ahead, Derek.
Oh, okay. I'll just go ahead then. Let me just pull up. Okay, so we spoke about some of our plans for the future locally in each of our areas of mostly British Columbia. Some of the work that we had already done. There's a lot of partnering with other organizations of fossil, and there's one participant in our conversation who had been very effective with his municipality in getting them to sign on to a anti-fossil fuel lawsuit. So it's suing, I think it's probably sue Big Oil, but maybe he can correct me if I'm wrong later on. There's another member of the group who has found a place in Ignatian spirituality and finds it very much connected to the Laudato Si movement. He interpreted our actions in Laudato Si as something that slowly animating our hearts, our minds, and noticed that the spirit really seemed to be brewing. There was discussion about ecological conversion and investment. We had a fairly extensive conversation about pensions or pensioners invested in fossil fuels and some of the actions that could be taken. And there was discussion around that being something that's a really good engagement tool, particularly among seniors and pensioners. There's gratitude expressed for the Laudato Si movement in North America and how it has really allowed people to be more intentional about their actions and a deeper realization of the Holy Spirit and its relationship with prayer. And then just to close off, some of the actions that had been taken by individuals was gardens, community gardens, joining campaigns together, hiking together. Their group, Laudato Si group, next to coastlines, etc. And then networking and ecumenism. Pardon me.
Thank you, Derek. Some of these words are tongue twisters. We'll move now back to Karen Van Loon, who was part of a group in Atlantic, Canada.
Sure. We were 3 Atlantic from Nova Scotia, I believe, and then 2 Ontario adoptees from Kingston and Toronto. For the first question, we spoke mainly about land and water programs, how some religious congregations are using their property in one case to support young farmers access land and get going off the ground and support local sustainable food. Another religious community spoke about using their land to support health facilities like a hospice, but also working to save green space and develop traditional land acknowledgement connected with their property. Another religious congregation spoke about becoming a blue community on World Water Day, and that this not be just in name only, but through actions like educating the sisters and also making a connection with their sisters in Cameroon, Cameroonians who are getting drinking water for villages. And then we also spoke about some of the hopeful signs of getting Laudato Si moving forward in parishes, one of which is, or a few are having some homilies on Laudato Si, getting a creation care ministry going, having a season of creation activities going on in a parish, having a Laudato Si discussion going on in a parish. So some hopeful signs, but a general discussion as well around more needs to happen in parishes, and that there needs to be especially more support from the bishops and from the pastors on getting things going around Laudato Si. People spoke about what was great with Laudato Si movement and how that is very supportive. Things like the ecological conversion monthly gatherings that happen and some of the other gatherings that act as a support, which is very much needed. The resources, webinars, season of creation resources are all invaluable. And taking that strong stand on advocacy and education around things like the Fossil Fuel Non-Proliferation Treaty. They may not be popular with a lot of Catholics, but taking that kind of a strong stand is important and kind of showing the way of where we need to go.
Aaron,
yes.
Can I ask you to stop now
Yep.
and we'll catch another group. Thank you so much. We are running a little bit over, but there is so much wonderful things to share. So
I was done anyway.
Oh, okay. So the group with Jean-Pierre Fortin, I know that my numbers don't match up with the numbers of the groups you were in, but if you can report, please.
We don't, in our case, I think Sister Danielle will report.
That's fine, and she can report in French because we have translation.
Merci Jean-Pierre, merci Agnès. Alors, brièvement, on avait un groupe diversifié avec des personnes qui commencent à peine à s'engager et des personnes qui sont des animatrices formées, animatrices Laudato Si. Quelques points forts, on a mentionné dans les 2 questions l'importance de la sensibilisation, et c'est à partir de la sensibilisation que finalement des gestes concrets au quotidien sont posés. On a souligné à au moins 2 reprises le visionnement du film La Lettre avec des échanges qui suivent et en particulier un groupe qui a une trousse pour animer le visionnement du film. Avec la deuxième question, j'ai beaucoup entendu parler de réseautage, l'importance du soutien, l'importance de briser l'isolement. Et au Québec, on a besoin de renforcer le réseautage. Donc, on souhaite que le mouvement Laudato Si puisse nous aider là-dedans. Et on a aussi mentionné l'importance de l'anxiété des jeunes et comment on a besoin de guérison. Et ça ranime l'espérance. Alors, ça fait un très bref résumé de certains aspects qui se sont dits, qui sont partagés dans mon groupe.
Merci beaucoup, Sister Danielle. I appreciate that. Now, I believe there's one more group that Sabrina was a part of. Can group number 11 report, please?
Yes, I was the note taker for group 11, which was a Francophone group. So my apologies for relaying the message in English, but I don't think I can retranslate what I did. What I will say is much of what was expressed already was also echoed in that group. So frustration with the hierarchy in the church and not having effective support from the bishops. And all the way down to local parishes not being well equipped to support pastorally ecological conversion among communities. Now, that said, although that frustration was there was a richness of people who were able to talk about the community gardens in their parishes, to talk about the different learning programs, to talk about the different ways that Laudato Si opened up their worldview, their perspectives on what ecological crises are. And as far as what Laudato Si movement can do to be more visible in communities, to be a hub for resources, to relay different online things, and also to connect and to network. So that is a very, very simple summary of the rich conversation that was there. Désolé, mes amis en français, j'espère que j'ai parlé à toutes.
Thank you so much, Sabrina. And that's where I'm thrilled that we have some interpreters because they're doing a fantastic job. Have I missed any breakout rooms? No. Okay, good. Good. So we are running a little bit over. At this point in the meeting, I'm calling on people who have prepared spotlight summaries in their region. And I'm going to start in Atlantic Canada. Spotlight reporters, if you have a way of condensing a little bit what you've prepared, I would appreciate it. If not, then Anna and I will curtail some of our things at the end. So Darlene O'Leary is in Halifax. Can you tell us about initiatives in that area?
Oh, I'll condense a lot. Thanks, Agnes. And I'm in Antigonish, and I work with the Sisters of St. Martha in Antigonish. But I'm just going to share really one thing with you that I think is relevant to the conversation. So I'm a member of the JPIC Atlantic Planning Group, and we had an opportunity, a few of us, to meet in April with the Atlantic Conference of Bishops, the Atlantic Bishops Conference, which is all of the bishops from Atlantic Canada. And what we wanted to do was basically talk to them about the fact that we wanted to see more engagement around Laudato Si at the parish levels across the diocese of Atlantic Canada. We had a good hour or so with them. We raised our concerns about Laudato Si not really reaching the parish level. We talked about the work that we're doing in various congregations. So that involved engaging in networks like ORSI, the relatively new Office of Religious Congregations for Integral Ecology. And I'm just going to note that a new researcher is on the ORSI team now, Saskia. I know she's on the call here somewhere, and we don't probably have time to talk to her, but hi, Saskia. You'll all meet her someday, I'm sure. So we got to share about ORSI, which is a new office based in Ottawa of a voice for religious congregations on climate justice. We also got to talk about our initiatives around water conservation, around support for the Fossil Fuel Non-Proliferation Treaty, and work around listening to Indigenous voices. So we wanted to meet with them directly to say, look, we can be partners with you on promoting Laudato Si, the Laudato Si movement in Atlantic Canada. We didn't get a lot of immediate take-up, but there was some benefit. And especially in my diocese where I was asked to do some JPIC initiatives by the bishop. So that's a good sign. And I'll leave it at that. There are many more things going on, but I'll just end it there.
Thank you so much, Darlene. And I apologize for placing you in the wrong municipality. Now I'll call on Michelle Fish. Michelle, I believe you're in Sherbrooke, Quebec. Do I have that correct?
Oui.
Ouais,
Alors,
c'est bon.
moi, je vais vous parler de... Est-ce qu'on m'entend bien? Alors, je vais vous parler des premiers pas de Laudato Si au Québec. Alors, petit tour d'horizon. André Beauchamp et la spiritualité de l'environnement. Pour André Beauchamp, prêtre et premier secrétaire du premier ministère de l'Environnement du Québec, la crise environnementale n'est pas seulement économique, sociale ou politique, elle est aussi spirituelle. À travers une retraite en ligne qui s'appelle La spiritualité de l'environnement, il nous montre que la science excelle à quantifier, mais que la spiritualité est peut-être mieux outillée pour qualifier la crise. Normand Lévesque et le réseau des Églises vertes, même si près d'une centaine d'églises, de couvents et d'institutions de différentes confessions chrétiennes avaient obtenu le label Église verte, le réseau des Églises vertes a dû malheureusement fermer ses portes. Alors, Normand espère que le mouvement et le site des Églises vertes sera repris par d'autres personnes et que ça deviendra un programme offert par un autre organisme qui écrira la prochaine page des Églises vertes, peut-être le mouvement Laudato Si Canada, on ne sait pas. Méditation chrétienne et crise climatique. Quel rapport entre la méditation chrétienne et la crise climatique? C'est ce que je vous invite à découvrir sur le site internet de Méditation chrétienne du Québec. Vous y trouverez un onglet Méditation et écologie, plein de petits trésors à découvrir. Petit tour des diocèses du Québec, archidiocèse de Gatineau. Depuis quelques semaines, un groupe Laudato Si, animé par le père Hyacinthe Alagbé, est en train de se former pour organiser des actions environnementales et déposer un plan d'action sur la plateforme d'action Laudato Si. Cela se fait dans le cadre du temps de la création avec le soutien de l'évêque. À suivre. Église catholique de Montréal, Louise Royer, qui travaille à l'Office de la pastorale sociale, insiste sur le fait qu'il faut travailler avec les mouvements sociaux. La transition socio-écologique, ça demande un vrai dialogue social. Et donc, participation en tant que table de pastorale sociale au mouvement pour la suite du monde et à la manifestation de vendredi le 27 septembre prochain à Montréal. La Société des missions étrangères à Laval et à Sorel-Tracy. Marie-Laure Joly, chargée de projet, nous explique que la Société de missions étrangères a un comité interne d'écologie qui planifie des activités à l'année et qui marque le début et la fin du temps de la création à leur camp d'été de Sorel-Tracy, le camp Robert Vert. Chaque événement est ouvert au voisinage et cette année, le 4 octobre aura lieu à Odanak la marche au flambeau pour les femmes autochtones disparues. Et le 5 octobre, ce sera l'inauguration de la chapelle La Danse du Cosmos, avec un parcours méditatif et avec les 4 éléments de la nature. Il souhaite, la mission des sociétés des missions étrangères souhaite dans le futur davantage développer la dimension éco-spirituelle du camp Robert Vert. Diocèse de Saint-Jean-Longueuil, Madame Sandra Côté, agente de changement éco-responsable, souligne que le diocèse est très actif dans la décarbonation du parc immobilier diocésain. Pour ce faire, il participe au développement de la partie francophone de l'application Église zéro émission avec Mark Gibson. Il rencontre les équipes pastorales en vue de mobiliser les gens à adopter des gestes éco-responsables. De plus, en mai 2024, une présentation de 45 minutes a été faite à tous les économes des diocèses de la province du Québec et a reçu un accueil favorable. Objectif 2024-2025, joindre le mouvement Laudato Si. L'Église catholique du Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean. Pour Anne-Marie Chapelot, il n'y a pas encore eu d'initiative concertée pour faire de l'écologie intégrale une priorité diocésaine. Toutefois, le service d'accompagnement et de formation du diocèse de Chicoutimi, pour eux, la question de justice sociale et écologique fait partie des préoccupations. Alors, voici quelques activités. Il y a eu des formations sur Laudato Si. Durant les temps de la création des dernières années, il y a eu des contemplations matinales du lever du soleil avec musique et silence, des marches dans la nature avec temps d'échange et Eucharistie au bord du Saguenay, et soirée de prière œcuménique ce 29 septembre bientôt. Engagement militant aussi de quelques personnes à titre personnel dans le mouvement des Mères au front, qui est non religieux et non partisan. Et nous terminons avec le diocèse de Sherbrooke, où Anne-Séverine Guittard, chargée de projet, pilote depuis 2021 le dossier du comité diocésain d'écologie intégrale, qui compte 3 membres certifiés Laudato Si. Elle nous explique que l'orientation du comité d'écologie intégrale est maintenant plus axée sur le mouvement Laudato Si. Dans ce sens, le comité en tant que tel fait une demande pour devenir un cercle Laudato Si au nom du diocèse. Et son action pour la prochaine année sera de présenter le film La Lettre dans certaines paroisses dans le but de sensibiliser les paroissiens et susciter la création de cercles Laudato Si. D'ailleurs, la semaine passée, au mi-temps du temps de la création, suite au visionnement du film La Lettre, un cercle Laudato Si est né dans la communauté chrétienne de Brompton. Longue vie au nouveau bébé Laudato Si. Voilà, c'est tout pour cette brève aperçu du Québec.
Merci beaucoup, Michelle. There's so much to cover. And I know that I know that in advance, I asked 2 people to give reports for Ontario. Sabrina, I'm going to ask you to take a break. We're running short of time, and I will call on Rosemary Boissonneau to share with us some of the things that you've found in Ontario.
Oh, okay, thank you. So I'm just going to talk briefly about 3 initiatives that are going on in Ontario, and I will share the links of things that might be of interest to you from that. I accidentally shared one earlier just by accident. But so Jericho House, it's located at Wainfleet, Ontario, which is near Port Corboon on the shores of Lake Erie. And Jericho House Youth Leadership and Spirituality Center has collaborated with Mouvement Laudato Si Movement Canada to host 3 amazing weekend workshops. Workshop-style retreats that focus on the care for creation and supporting those who lift up the values of Laudato Si in their local community. These events have drawn participants from across multiple spiritual traditions and social sectors, and it is their expertise that brings rich educational and networking opportunities to the group. The weekends also offer time for quiet reflection in nature, nourishing prayer, and guided meditation, and it encourages building community through shared mealtime. The Jericho House Board of Directors and Managers are committed to offering at least 7 annual retreats as part of their commitment to the Laudato Si Action Platform goals. Their 4th weekend gathering will be in June 2025 with the focus on education goal of the platform. So watch for news earlier in the new year from the Laudato Si movement about possibility of attending this retreat, and yeah, if you want to find out more about them, their link is in the chat. The Ursuline Sisters of Chatham are doing amazing work. Over the last 2 years, the investment committee of Ursulines of Chatham worked with CVX, which means Social Venture Connection, and their team to realize the goal of selecting a leading impact investor, and they chose Genesis, and the links to those are there. Guided by the key themes and the expertise of Genesis, the committee would take steps to create a portfolio which would move towards full impact. The choice for full impact is a choice to position investments in such a way that they contribute to sustainable systems at every level. So the Ursuline impact themes, they align with some of the UN Sustainable Development Goals: equity, access and empowerment, indigenous reconciliation and prosperity, development, justice and peace, protecting and conserving the earth. So the move to impact investing is a transformational process which requires community education, analysis of risk, and value discernment. It is a choice which maximizes the call to use our resources to heal and sustain vulnerable people and ecosystems. So if other congregations are looking to do that, the sisters have probably great advice for you. They have a whole sort of webinar that they can give you, a whole set of slides, and those are the people they recommend that you use if you were looking to do that. And then finally, I'll try to be quick about this. It is a project that I'm working with the University of St. Michael's College in Toronto, at the University of Toronto. It's called Critical Conversations in Catholic Education, Climate Change and Eco-Social Resilience. We got funding from the Associations of Theological Schools to present this project that during the last school year, we offered secondary school educators 2 free workshops exploring the intersection of youth climate, anxiety, climate science, and Catholic social teaching. And we're now making the final arrangements for our big final half-day free in-person conference on Saturday, October 5th, from 10 a.m. to 2:30. It's going to be at Regis St. Michael's Faculty of Theology, 100 Wellesley Street West in Toronto. It's going to, the keynote speaker is Joyce Mercer from the Yale Divinity School, with a response from Simon Apolloni, who is assistant professor of School of the Environment. It will also have panel discussions, a photography display by Michael Swan, artists, refreshments, and lunch. And there's also going to be exhibitors from social and climate justice organizations that provide curriculum resources and hands-on initiatives helping educators to address eco-anxiety and encourage resilience among their students. The Laudato Si Movement Canada will be one of the exhibitors. So it's a free event. You could go to our website, which I put in the link there. It's the last link that I put in the chat. So you could go to our website to register. If you're not going to be anywhere near Toronto, I still encourage you to go to the website, because there we have videos, recordings of our past 2 previous workshops, a very helpful list on the topic of eco-theology, Laudato Si, and youth climate anxiety, as well as a list for classroom resources and practical classroom curriculum resources to help people out. So I encourage you all to check that out. Thank you.
Rosemary, thank you so much. And I'm going to take this opportunity to pivot a little bit. Everyone who is listening, and if you have something of your own that you'd like to share or you'd like to invite collaboration on, just as Rosemary and others did, please put it in the chat, because the chat will be captured and shared afterwards. And Sabrina, Anna has graciously said that she will curtail part of her conversation at the end to give you space, especially for all the work that you did to prepare a beautiful PowerPoint for us. So please, I'm calling you back.
Oh, well, nobody else presented their PowerPoint, but I do appreciate it, and I will.
That's okay.
So good evening to everyone. My name is Sabrina. I work for the Sisters of St. Joseph in Toronto as their integral ecology specialist. It's a wonderful evening to join everybody tonight. And cannot start screen share while the other participant is sharing, and that's fine. Is it already up? So, sorry,
You could
folks.
see it.
Sorry?
Yep, we can see it.
It's up, so just say next when you want it to switch.
Oh, wonderful. See, I couldn't see it on my own screen. That was the problem. Okay.
Yeah, it's there now.
So yes, I'm going to do just a broad stroke update with Ottawa and here in Toronto. And I also realized that between myself and Rosemary, we have passed over Kingston. So my peer, Bridget Doherty from Kingston, there's also a lot of work that happens there. So just an honorable mention to that. Next slide, please. So the two areas that we are that I'll give a quick summary for in the Archdiocese of Ottawa, Cornwall, and as Darlene O'Leary and Antigonish mentioned, the Office for Religious Congregations for Integral Ecology, a brief overview of some of the work out of ORSI, which I'm sure it's something of a surprise for Saskia to see the logo up there. So the next slide, please. So in Ottawa, Cornwall, recently there was a mass, an annual mass for the season of creation, where 4 young adults were given the John Dorner Award, and I acknowledge that Anna Dorner is here. So, and in those photos, so very special moments during that mass in Ottawa, in the Ottawa Cathedral. And there was also an event of appreciating artwork, an annual art show with the idea that appreciating the artwork, by appreciating the artwork, one comes to know its master. So thank you, Mairie Church, for those photos. Next slide, please. So this is what I'm sharing on behalf of ORSI, the gathering that we had just this past March for the Learning and Lobbying event, where we were able to meet with different representatives in Ottawa, in ministry offices, MP offices, and there are some familiar faces in that photo as well. Next slide, please. Here in Toronto at the Mary Ward Centre and with the Sisters of St. Joseph, this is very, very, very slim pickings because the Mary Ward Centre does so much. Next slide, please. So what I wanted to touch on for the sake of this presentation tonight is the recent work with the High Level Political Forum in New York on the Sustainable Development Goals. The Mary Ward Centre was instrumental in organizing different side events, as well as sponsoring youth delegates to attend the High Level Political Forum, and that work is ongoing. Next slide, please. For us here in Toronto, so I work in the Toronto office, as you see in the chat. Sister Linda Gregg, who is also a Sister of St. Joseph, is sharing some of the wonderful work that she does with her fellow sisters out at Coburg at the Villa St. Joseph. I work not with the Villa, although related. Here in Toronto last Wednesday, we were able to support the Grassy Narrows rally, the River Run for support of Grassy Narrows, and there are other things that we're involved in as well. All of the Sisters of St. Joseph in Canada are a Blue community. Of course, many of you know they were the first faith community to take the Blue Communities Pledge, and we have much work that we do as well. Next slide, please. And so a minor correction here, I have incorrectly the Laudato Si movement abbreviation here, but these are 2 parishes locally in Toronto, St. Joan of Arc Creation Care Ministry, which Karen Van Loon shared information in the chat, and Eco Ansem. These are 2 parishes in Toronto which have Creation Care Ministries, and they are interested in doing outreaches to other Toronto parishes that might like to form this type of ministry, which aims to deepen ecological spirituality, awareness, practices, and solidarity in parishes. So reaching out to Karen, her information is there in the chat if you're in Toronto and wish to network. And that was it. Thank you, Anna Johnson, for the time. I hope I did okay.
You did fantastic, Sabrina. Thank you. I'm going to call now on Lucy Leduc, who is speaking on what's happening in her area in Edmonton, Alberta, just outside of Edmonton.
I want to thank you, Agnes, for inviting me at the last minute. So this happened yesterday. So now I'm getting the gist of what the requirement was, and I have not had time to research, all of the different organizations that are doing good works, and I'm sure there are some in Alberta. So I feel kind of sad about that. It'll make me look. So I can't report on all of Alberta and what we're doing. I can say I echo a lot of what I've heard about, it's difficult in the church right now in Alberta in any case, to, find voices that are speaking to Laudato Si. And so we feel like a little bit of an island on Laudato Si. At least I'm not aware of many that are. But I do want to say, except for the CWL, which some groups have mentioned, and I want to mention a group that we became aware of through our programming. We do a program called Aurora Living, and it's a spiritual formation program that we started 3 years ago. I was so delighted to see Darlene O'Leary on this this time, because I haven't seen you for years, but you used to be at Galilee, and I do remember you. And so grateful to see people still working in this field. Aurora Living for us is, we thought, okay, that nothing's happening, so let's try and do something with Laudato Si as a core resource. And so we have Laudato Si as one of the core resources. Another, of course, is scripture and our sacred spiritual traditions, Christian spiritual traditions. And the third is the truth and reconciliation calls to action. So we do combine the Indigenous wisdom teaching with the Laudato Si and the other. And what we want to do is connect faith and life, so that people have the tools to actually begin to make changes and even know what those changes are. So we are educating through many great speakers. And I want to say who I did discover, or who we did discover on this journey of people that are doing great work, is Arosha, which is it's a Christian environmental organization, a stewardship organization working in conservation in BC, in Toronto, or in the Ontario area. And they're looking at Alberta now. So we've had visits with them. And it's been interesting, an interesting intersection to meet them and to hear about them. So we're opening with our Aurora Living program. It was a 3-year cycle. We've only done one cycle. This is very new. It's very experimental, but it's working. And it was a rich 3 years that we did last year. We start at creation with Genesis, and we do the cosmology, we do Thomas Berry, we do those things, and then we go to create new creation in Revelation, right through scripture, through modules. 9 modules was what we did. Now we're at 6 for 2-year program. We've reduced it to a 2-year program to make it more accessible. And we have an opening weekend retreat. We have 2 Saturday retreats in that a 3-month module. So 3-month modules in a year, and then a second year of that. So that's makes up your 6. Small group wisdom circles, monthly readings and videos, and optional spiritual direction. It's a way to deepen our conversion, our ecological conversion, for that Laudato Si is calling us to. It is interfaith and Christian based. So I would say there is some evangelization going on in there, at the same time as we are very, very open and respectful and learning from other traditions, and really enjoying this journey. We're starting this next weekend, and our opening weekend is called Earth Keeping in the Way of Jesus, and it's led by Rick Faw, who's a fellow who works with Arosha in BC. So that's a nut. And I really apologize that I didn't connect with you more, Agnes, to discover the whole region. The regional
no worries
thing.
at all, because I had someone who couldn't come, and I didn't expect you to delve into all of the prairies in that short notice. But I'm not sure if I didn't hear it right, but Lucy is at Star of the North Retreat Center in St. Albert, Alberta.
Thank you.
Okay. Now I'm going to call on Mark Norbury, who's one of the co-leaders of the Laudato Si Circle in Port Moody, BC.
Thank you, Agnes. I've been involved in environmental organizations for many years, and speaking to youth groups and being involved in secular environmental groups. But 2 years ago, I felt prompted by the Holy Spirit to do more for the environment within the Catholic Church as an expression of my faith. So I did the Laudato Si Animators course, then spoke with a fellow parishioner, whose name is Catherine Ho, about starting a Laudato Si circle in our parish of St. Joseph's in Port Moody, near Vancouver. I've put the link in the chat to our website. I'm a lay Dominican, and so it seemed natural to found the circle on the Dominican foundation pillars of prayer, study, community, and apostolic action. And so basically we have monthly meetings. We always start and end with prayer, a good 10 minutes or so. We study. We've studied Laudato Si itself and other things. We inspire each other. That's the community aspect. We inspire each other to live better lives, caring for the environment. And then we're involved in various local campaigns. That's the action. And so in our first year, we studied Laudato Si from cover to cover during our study section, taking each chapter over 2 months. We hosted a screening of the film, The Letter, at our local church within a week after it was released. And this was attended by many people. including many Christians from other denominations. And that's actually been a characteristic. We've actually had Anglicans and Lutherans and so on join our circle. In our second year, we got involved in a local campaign in BC called Sue Big Oil. Through God's help and forming links with our local campaigning groups, we were successful in convincing Port Moody City Council to join the campaign. This is all about the oil companies and the fact that they've been using lies and propaganda to market their products. All of us local citizens are paying the full cost of climate mitigation, dealing with flooding and so on. And so we're paying, taxpayers are paying 100%. And so the idea of the class action lawsuit is that we get them to pay their fair share on the general principle that polluter pays. And so this has been successful. And this is a BC campaign, and we hope more cities will get involved. So these connections with our local groups, other environmental groups, have been a vehicle for a very gentle kind of evangelism. So secular people from other campaigning groups have attended our meetings, and we also openly share that we're Catholic, and this is a driver, and they see that our faith is a driver behind our environmental work. We've also held 2 annual car-free Sundays, where we've encouraged Sunday mass attenders to leave their cars at home. Those have been a great success. They were both in Laudato Si week in May, and so we've really grown. The first meeting was attended by Catherine, myself, and my wife, Nalco, and we now have 65 members on our mailing list. We find that many Catholics deeply care about the environment, and want to respond to the Pope's call. And so we provide them with the means to do this. We typically have about 6 to 12 people attend our monthly meetings. We did our local encounter in June and reflected on where we're going. We want to continue our campaigning work. Bobby Gothong, who's in this meeting, has recently joined us. He's a great networker guy, and he's networking with the Archdiocese. And we're working with the local Archdiocese of Vancouver to divest their funds from fossil fuels. And next week, we'll be hosting an in-person ecumenical Season of Creation event in Coquitlam, focused on the themes of hope and action. And this will be attended by Christians of several denominations. It's going to be recorded, so we'll put the link to that online. Thank you.
Fabulous, Mark. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm so glad that we can have these sharings in this national meeting, because I'm hoping that you all feel as I do, that we have a really strong evolving community that's happening here in Canada around Laudato Si. So now I'm going to take a minute and move towards some of the campaign asks that we have. Every year, the Laudato Si Movement International hosts a 6-week training program online. The next cohort will happen in April. However, throughout the year, people can take those classes at their own learning speed as well. So on-demand type Laudato Si training. But keep an eye out for the next full cohort that will be meeting as a group in April. It's a fantastic opportunity to bring more people into our movement. Next slide, please. The second thing I'd like to suggest to you is the ongoing Bishop's Letter Writing campaign that our Canadian chapter has asked all of our members to participate in. This is to ask our bishops to consider aligning their pensions and diocesan financial assets towards a focus of planetary ecological health. Pope Francis has repeatedly stated the urgency for people of faith, especially those in wealthy nations, to find ways to use our wealth to move us towards healthy, equitable, and thriving future for humans and all life on Earth. This letter, one of the primary drivers of it, is to introduce the Catholic Eco-Investment Accelerator Toolkit to bishops and their administrative staff. The campaign is also intended to initiate conversations that share with our ecclesial leaders what our ideas are to help the church realize a responsibility to care for creation. If we don't reach out with our hopes and dreams, how will the bishops, pastors know what our desires are for our church, and our willingness to have the conversation to help move this forward. The sample letter, there is a link here, but don't worry about capturing it. We will send it to you afterwards in a nice fat package when we're finished the webinar. But the sample letter includes a lot of material. We don't expect you to use it all, but to draw out parts of it that both resonate with you and would help you have your conversation with your bishop and his financial advisors. This idea about asking bishops to think about divesting their pensions has precedence in other places. Catholic dioceses around the world have taken this step, most notably many dioceses in Ireland, which is a coal-producing nation. And most recently, Salford Diocese near Westminster, UK, announced that they are shedding BP and Shell shares because of their concerns for the climate. Okay, next slide, please. This has been mentioned once or twice before. The Fossil Fuel Non-Proliferation Treaty is a global push to create a treaty much like the treaty to reduce nuclear armaments. So it's built on that same concept because climate change is just as dire a problem. And actually, I'm going to give space to Anna for a moment to talk about that because this is something that's happening throughout the whole church.
Thank you so much, Agnes. So the Fossil Fuel Non-Proliferation Treaty is a sign of good hope and authenticity towards saying we are past the point of being able to pull any more fossil fuels out of the ground. If we do that, we will blow way past 1.5 degrees of warming, which will be condemning us to a 1.5 or more degree warmed future. And so with that in mind, signing on to this, I've had conversations with people where they say, well, I drive a car that uses gas. I can't sign on to that. Yes, you absolutely can. Of course you can, right? There are so many systems in place that make it so that we have to use gas in our daily life. And so now we're pushing it back to the governments and back to our leaders and back to those who make these decisions around what's possible for us and say, we need to stop. We need to stop, and we can make individual choices. But as Pope Francis says in Laudato Si, individual actions, while super important, are not enough. We need the action of governments, of leaders. And he goes on to say, what would entice anyone to hold on to power at this stage, if only to be remembered for their inability to take action when it was urgent and necessary to do so? So this is the time to do this, and this is the invitation to sign on to this Fossil Fuel Non-Proliferation Treaty. The link is in the chat, and as you sign on to that, you're adding your voice and your name to say, we do not stand by this any further. We would also strongly invite you to figure out what groups you're a part of and invite them to also sign on to this, whether that be a committee at your parish or a Laudato Si circle, or even if you have access to a diocese or diocesan office, if you're a university or at any other organization, you work with a congregation, you're a woman religious. If you can sign on as groups as well, it will increase the power of this treaty. We are committed to attending COP29 and COP30, where we will present these continually growing amounts of signatures to the government officials that are gathering for these international agreements, to have these conversations to say, we need to stop extracting more fossil fuels from the ground. We don't have time, and it's time to stop. And so we invite you to sign on and to invite your leaders, your groups to also sign on, to continue to grow this grassroots movement and make our voice collectively so loud that our officials, our people in power, our elected officials can no longer ignore us, right? It is time for us to lift our voices so that they can't ignore us any longer and be moving forward as a movement. So thank you.
Thank you, Anna. You've really put that in a great context. Okay, did you have other things so you have other slides here. Would you like to speak to those?
Yeah, and then I'll just add, of course, as you likely know, next year is a big deal year. It is this multi-anniversary year, and so we know the Spirit is always with us. but the Holy Spirit, it will be particularly paying attention to this year, and perhaps this confluence is happening for a reason. So the year 2025 is the 10-year anniversary of the publishing of Laudato Si, so definitely something worth acknowledging, particularly with Laudate Deum coming out last year, of saying it's a beautiful document and we haven't done it yet. So let's keep it moving forward. It also is the 800-year anniversary of the Canticle of the Creatures, written by St. Francis of Assisi, where he took prayer to a new level. It's really beautiful the more you read about the canticle that he wrote. It was really this revolutionary moment in how we pray. And the deep ability of also saying, this is not a brand new fancy thing in our faith that's only 10 years old. No, it goes back, of course, to the Gospels, but certainly to St. Francis 800 years ago. And then, so this is far before any of the recent changes. And it also is a Jubilee year. So as you know, it's a Jubilee year. It's a year of a call to let the land lie fallow, to forgive debts, to take big moments so that we can restore healing and right relationship with the earth and with all of our sisters and brothers. And so we invite you to be dreaming forward about what this new big deal year might empower you to do. What is the new spaciousness what's the new courage that you could perhaps take to lift your voice in a new way, or that you can invite your bishop to, or other leader to take our voices to another step, to build the really strong and system changing action that we need to do. So thank you.
So I'm going to pause just for a moment before I get into our celebrations, because there's some really important things we need to do. Anna, you and I are going to move our views into gallery view, and we're going to take some pictures, because we want to be able to share not only everything that we've heard and learned today, but also all these wonderful faces that are here. So smile, give us about a minute and a half, or we're going to click through the screens, because I have 3 different screens just full of faces. So here we go. Big smile, everybody. Thank you. I'm going to a couple more. Great. Anna, have you captured some images too?
Yes, I have now.
Perfect. Yay. Okay. What else did we need to take care of? Let's see here. Oh, so Anna also has a form that she would like you to fill out for us. It's an evaluation form to help us understand how we did in this meeting. You can fill it out just in the next few minutes while I'm going through the celebration part, but it really does help us plan for next year, because we're planning that these national gatherings happen at least once a year. Okay, that's great. So she's put those in the chat. What you need to do now is just capture what's in the chat, and if you fill it out now, fine. If you want to fill it out afterwards, at least click on the link and it'll stay on your computer and you can fill it out afterwards. Okay, great. So now, Anna, if you can put my next slide up. Thank you. So this is the time for me to blow the whistles and horns and be proud of the things that we have done. In 2004, we've taken significant steps to move MLSM Canada towards a bilingual organization. And there are opportunities to strengthen this effort as we move forward. So I hope all of you have had a good experience with hearing from each other. This is something we've worked hard to begin, and we know it's just a beginning, but we also will want to carry it forward as we go into the years ahead. The Laudato Si animator circles are doing incredible work across Canada. You heard about many of them from the regional spotlights. We applaud your incredible efforts. There's a picture down there on the bottom left of Mark's group, the Port Moody Laudato Si Circle and their Sue Big Oil campaign. The Care for Our Common Home retreats at Jericho House are becoming a staple on the calendars of those from many sectors who are striving towards ecological and social change. We draw on the immense knowledge of participants while providing time for reflection, connection with nature, and deep understanding of how each of us can contribute to solutions from our areas of expertise. Watch for news next year of our 4th retreat. I can't believe we're already at 4, but these are very soul-filling opportunities. And if you have a chance to come and join us for 3 days, you're most welcome. In early 2023, the Oblate Parish of St. Joseph in Ottawa made public their intention to divest from fossil fuels. They are the first Catholic parish in Canada to do so that we know of. If you know of a Catholic parish that's divested, please write me and let me know. But in doing so, they show us that this is possible. In January this year, the University of St. Paul in Ottawa also registered their commitment with Laudato Si movement to divest from fossil fuels. It's been through the tireless efforts of our advisory circle member, Joe Gunn, working with the resources of the Catholic Eco Investment Accelerator Toolkit, that these 2 divestment announcements have been achieved. Thank you, Joe, and applauds to you. In December of 2023, Sœurs Servantes de Saint-Coeur-de-Marie also registered their commitment to divest from fossil fuels. So in the last year and a half, we have 3 divestment commitments from Catholic communities in Canada, and we will build that number. The 2nd John Dorner Memorial Award was recently honored with a group of young, sustainable-minded people, and an individual homeowner was given honorable mention because of all of the work that he's done to make his home as close to 0 emissions as he can possibly get. So that's the picture in the top left corner there. And thank you so much, Anna Dorner, for providing the ability to give this award, and for Mary for making it happen in the Diocese of Ottawa. As the years go by, we're building more and more bridges around the values and actions Pope Francis has highlighted for us in Laudato Si. You are all such a vital part of this global journey. So that is all I needed to share. Anna, if you have anything you wanted to share, we have actually 2 or 3 minutes left. So yay.
I just want to lift up again how important it is that each of you are doing this. This work is not easy, and it's not always easy to find hope. It's not always easy to continue to find the persistence that we need, right? As we talk about the work of this around the world, there are challenges that other parts of the world are facing, but also opportunities that are challenges in our regions, right? Such as in Asia Pacific, they're able to mobilize entire conferences of Catholic bishops because of the ecological realities they're facing. And we've got different challenges here, right? But also huge different opportunities. And so please know that each of you being here and the amazing work that you all are doing, as we heard through these reports, through these great insights, is so essential. And it gives so much hope and nourishment for continued growth of the global movement. You are a part of the global movement, and we are so happy to be co-workers in the vineyard for you as we care for our common home. So thank you, and we're grateful to be with you. We are excited to continue this work. Let's keep on in faith and persistence and hope, which is hard at times, but it's easier when we're together. So in gratitude for us all coming together today, and with huge gratitude also to Agnes, our fearless leader in Canada, who continues to lead us through these amazing calls, as well as help shepherd so much of this important work happening across the country, and to the amazing advisory circle. So Canada is a real leader of the movement, and the movement is so grateful to have the amazing insight, work, and wisdom of the country, and so many amazing people in the country. So may you all go with deep blessings and know that we're in this together. So let's keep going.
Thank you, Anna. And now, if you want, you can open your mics and we can all say goodbye to each other and move on into our evening. So I will say now, thank you, and I'm going to say good night, but I've been so
Salut tout
happy
le
to
monde.
hear all of you.
Good. Thanks,
Merci.
everyone.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everyone.
everyone. Good night.
Salut,
Thank you.
You too.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Au revoir.
Everyone.
Bye.
Sweet dreams.
Bonsoir.
Bye. So some of our core team will stay on for just a few
Thank you.
minutes.